Bible says beware of false prophets. And there are people out there, spreading noise about how much can get done.
Is Ted Cruz a false prophet?
Listen, you can pick a lot of names out. I'll let you choose them.
You don't debate that assertion?
I'll refer you to my remark at a fundraiser I made in August in Steamboat Springs, Colorado.
All right, that was Speaker of the House John Boehner over the weekend taking shots at conservatives, including Senator Ted Cruz, just days after announcing he will be resigning from his post at the end of next month. Here with reaction tonight, GOP 2016 GOP contender, presidential contender, Ted Cruz. He said, tell me if I'm a false prophet, Senator, because he said a false prophet, unrealistic, spreading noise. We never had a chance to defund Obamacare, a fool's errand. Am I wrong in thinking that Congress could have defunded Obamacare, could have defunded executive amnesty, can defund even Planned Parenthood? Am I wrong? Am I a false prophet?
Sean, you're looking to something as basic as the United States Constitution. Of course you're right. The problem is Republican leadership begins from the perspective that they can accomplish nothing, and they're not willing to try to accomplish anything for conservatives. If Speaker Boehner wants to go on national television, as he did this weekend, and direct epithets at me or at conservatives, he's welcome to do so. I have no intention of responding in kind.
Senator, I think it's a good thing he's gone. 60% of Republicans feel betrayed by Congress. 52% think most members of Congress are corrupt. Is John Boehner largely responsible for that?
Well, we've got Republican leadership in both houses that are fighting for nothing that they promised the American people they would fight for. The basic problem, Sean, you've got ostensibly two sides. On one side, the Democrats. Barack Obama and the Democrats, they are absolutely committed to fighting for liberal principles. Barack Obama will practically crawl over broken glass with a knife between his teeth. He never, ever, ever gives up. He's like the Terminator. And what does Republican leadership do? It begins every negotiation with surrendering at the outset. And it all plays out because Republican leadership says very innocuously, there will never, ever, ever be a shutdown. Now, to most folks, that sounds like that might be reasonable. The problem is when you're dealing with a radical on the other side, Obama's discovered all he has to do is whisper the word shutdown, and Republican leadership will run for the hills. So Obama says, if you, Republicans in Congress, don't fund 100% of Obamacare, if you don't do nothing for the millions of people being hurt by that failed law, I, Barack Obama, will veto funding for the entire federal government. And Republican leadership says, we give up, we'll fund Obamacare.
Senator,
he does the same thing on amnesty. He does the same thing on Planned Parenthood. He does the same thing on this catastrophic Iranian deal. And Republican leadership leads the fight to fund every single one of Obama's big government programs.
You're right. This Washington cartel, and especially Republicans, have surrendered. If we go back to 2013, or even this week, where you are going forward with a debate over a continuing resolution to take us to December the 11th, if every Republican had stood with you or stands with you this week, do you have the authority to defund Planned Parenthood, Obamacare, stop executive amnesty, and stop this bad Iranian deal? Do the Republicans have that power?
Of course we do. We have majorities in both houses of Congress. All funding under the Constitution begins in Congress, the power of the purse. The problem is leadership won't use it. They surrender at the outset. It's the reason we have no appropriation bills. Democrats are blocking them, but why are they blocking them? Because they know if Congress passes no appropriations bills, we'll end up at the end of the fiscal year, we'll have a continuing resolution, and Republican leadership will surrender and fund every one of Obama's priorities. So if you're a Democrat, why would you let Congress operate when you know that Republican leadership will join with Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama? And, Sean, as you noted, I'm leading the fight right now in the Senate to stop this. I introduced yesterday an amendment that said we should fund the entire federal government. But number one, don't send $500 million of taxpayer money to Planned Parenthood, a private organization under multiple criminal investigations and caught on tape apparently committing a pattern of felonies, selling the body parts of unborn children. And number two, don't spend money to implement this catastrophic Iranian nuclear deal. Don't send $100 billion to the Ayatollah Khamenei. Now, do you know who stopped my amendment?
Mitch
It was
McConnell.
Republican leadership. It was our own side
All right,
that
so
they're
then-
convinced, no, we can't fight Obama, we must surrender.
So we really need more new leadership. You're saying that you think McConnell needs to go.
We need leadership that actually leads. Right now, both Senate and House leadership, they believe that we must surrender to Obama on everything. It's why people are so frustrated. And I'll note, we've had now 2 Republican presidential debates. Every candidate talks about how they're standing up to Washington. Every candidate talked about how they didn't want to fund Planned Parenthood. Well, the fight that's happening right now today, none of those other 10 candidates on that stage are anywhere to be found. I would love to have all 11 candidates on that stage come be part of the fight and
but Senator,
lead. If you want to take on Washington, do it.
Every one of these Republican senators and congressmen made the same promise you did. Why
exactly
are they
right.
unwilling to use their constitutional authority? And if Mitch McConnell won't use it and won't lead, who would you like to see as leader?
Look, the problem is leadership isn't listening to the people back home. Leadership knows how to fight. But
Well, they tell us every election.
Well, but it's what they're fighting for. Leadership listens to the special interest and the lobbyist on K Street and Wall Street. So, for example, a couple of months ago, when it came to corporate welfare, the Export-Import Bank, leadership fought tooth and nail, used every procedural tool they could, because giving hundreds of billions of dollars of loan guarantees to giant corporations, that produces campaign checks.
I agreed with you there,
That's who
too.
they're responsive to.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You talk about leadership in the House and Senate. Kevin McCarthy wants to be the next Speaker of the House. He's going to join us coming up later in the program tonight. You are largely credited for leading the effort, in part, you and Mark Meadows, to push Speaker Boehner out. What do you think of Kevin McCarthy?
Listen, I like Kevin personally, and I would encourage Kevin or whoever the new Speaker is. What is most important is that Republican leadership honor the commitments we made to the men and women who elected us. And if Kevin becomes Speaker and he's a Speaker who will fight to do what we promised the voters, then I'll be happy to work with him or anyone else. That's what we've got to do. And Sean, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, if you want a true, proven, consistent conservative fighter, go to tedcruz.org. And if the grassroots rise up, that's how we can break the Washington cartel with a strong conservative president, just like Ronald Reagan did in 1980.
Senator, thanks for taking time to be with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean. God bless.
And coming up, former